Hey guys, welcome to Get Busy Watching. I'm your host, Honest Dan. Let's talk movies. Giving you guys a double feature this time. Good Boys and 47 Meters Down.
There's gonna be girls at the party. You know what that means?
Drama.
No, kissing.
You do not want to go to Soren's party not knowing how to kiss.
We could spy on my neighbor. Cat.
This is what happens when you don't respect women.
If we don't get to that party, I'll die.
It's directed by Gene Stupnitsky, who has done a few episodes of The Office, making this his feature film debut, so congrats to him. The film's cast includes Jacob Tremblay, who has been in The Predator, Wonder, Room, and will be in the upcoming Dr. Sleep, due out later this year. Keith L. Williams, whose work I am not familiar with. Brady Noon, who has previously done Boardwalk Empire. And in bit roles, we have Lil Rel Howery from Angry Birds 2, Uncle Drew, Get Out, and will be in upcoming films The Photograph and Bad Trip, both due out in February of 2020, and Michaela Watkins from Sword of Trust and Brigsby Bear. Good Boys is pretty good, actually. I had a great laugh, and that's more than most comedies give me these days. The kids are definitely the selling point. Jacob Tremblay, as always, delivers his A game. The rest of the kids, they do a really good job as well. Their connection feels really genuine. I feel like they were friends on set, or at least were professional enough to make it look like they were. Granted, this movie is a lot of just kids swearing like sailors and just being raunchy in general, but I don't know, like, even though that the lines themselves may not be that funny per se, it's honestly the delivery. The kids are just a lot of fun and look like they're just having a lot of fun on set, and it really shows. I honestly want to know what Brie Larson's look on her face would be like. I want to be a fly on that wall in that screening where she watches this movie and is like, this little kid that was so innocent and so precious when I worked with him on Room. I just want to see her eyes just like light up or get wide and just be like, damn, this kid's cursing more than I do. I'm sure that would be a hell of a thing to watch. Stephen Merchant has a small role in this movie, but he is such a good sport about himself. It's like they're trying to pawn off one of their like Pokemon cards, or maybe it was Yu-Gi-Oh, I forget which. But like it's valuable, it's like $400, and they sell it to a guy that they think kind of looks like a pedophile. Stephen Merchant shows up looking exactly like that, acting like that, even though he's not. It's just, there's also this brilliant chase scene where the kids are running away from the two girls that they stole weed from. Like, one of them gets out on foot and starts running after them. Just, I love the kids' expressions when they realize she's running after them. Just, the expressions on these kids is probably half the comedy. It's like, even if they're running across, like, a freeway, for example, it's 100% just how over the top their expressions are. I'd say if I had any real problems with the movie is that I went in with too high expectations. It's like, my expectations were here, but the movie kind of met me, right there. I don't know, some of the jokes just felt a little underwhelming. Don't get me wrong, the movie is funny. I am going to recommend this for everyone, but it's not as funny as I was hoping. Some jokes were just kind of flat, didn't really do anything for me. Also, I feel like one of the main points of the story was to kind of show how it hurts that sometimes you drift apart from your friends, that there are circumstances in which you just kind of don't hang out as much as you usually do. But this feels like it comes out in the middle of the movie, because it's around that time where there's a rift that develops between Max and Thor, but it's only around that time when this plot point crops up that this becomes a problem. You see what I'm getting at? It just comes out of nowhere and feels like it's just shoehorned in to pad out the runtime. It's not poorly executed, and there is an emotional payoff at the end, which kind of had me choked up. This is definitely a movie that I wish I could watch with my best friend. So it's not too bad of a problem. It's just I wish that it was properly built up more from the beginning. There's also a level of predictability. Like, when the dad says, don't touch the drone, it's for work, not a toy, at some point they're going to use the drone, and that's if you've never seen the trailer, so, I don't know. If you've already showcased that this is going to happen in the movie, why bother putting it in the writing at all? Like, just, they're going to use the drone. Big deal. Just say that it's not meant to be a toy without parental supervision or something. I don't know. Either way, you know where it's going to go. You know how this is going to end up because the trailer gave it away. I would also say that it does hit a few cliches as well. Like, you have a character who says, hey, I'll see you in X amount of time, and then they come home early. It's that sort of thing. I don't know why that ever happens. It's not like, it's not like this person, the kid, wasn't going to get in trouble anyway for his antics. I don't understand why this keeps coming up in writing. Overall, I say that this is a good film. It's got heart to it. There are more than a few laughs. Maybe not quite as many as I'd hoped, but it's worth checking out if you're interested. My honest rating for Good Boys is a 4 out of 5.
I am going to take you to a place that no tourist would ever find in a million years.
It's Mayan.
There's something there! We're going to die down here.
It's directed and co-written by Johannes Roberts, known for The Strangers Pray at Night and The Other Side of the Door. The cast includes Sophie Nélisse. I probably butchered that. I'm so sorry. But she had a bit role in Pawn Sacrifice, the only movie that I've seen her in. Corinne Fox, whose work I am not familiar with, and Brienne Tiju. I have a very middle-class white upbringing, and I don't know how to pronounce people's last names. I am begging for forgiveness at this point.
You uncultured swine!
In any case, she has been in one episode of iZombie, the only thing I would know her from. I'm sorry. Sistine Rose Stallone? But you can't guess who her dad is. No, not him. No, seriously, not him. All right, okay, I got it. I'm not subtle. In any case, feature film debut. Congrats, girl. And finally, John Corbett from God's Not Dead, A Light in Darkness, and My Big Fat Greek Wedding 2. This one's to you, John. You're the best part of any movie. I'm conflicted, because on the one hand, I want to say that there are elements about this movie that are better than the last one, but at the same time, it's also worse, probably even a little more silly. I mean, let's face it. You have an underwater Mayan city, basically, that these characters are swimming through, and you have sharks that are basically blind. Not that I don't know if this is a thing or not, but they're basically super hearing sharks. They can't see worth shit, but they can hear. And even that feels really inconsistent. It's like the slightest sound will grab those sharks' attention, but then other scenes where you have the characters like breathing heavily, making noises left and right, It's not very well directed, not well put together. Even some of its own rules are broken sometimes. Man, this movie likes to pull out subplots and kind of do nothing with them. The movie opens on one of the girls getting bullied, pushed into a school pool, which is like out in the front of the school or something, or like in the front entrance. I don't know a school that does that. Like, usually the pool is somewhere far into campus or something, but it's not like in the front, in the entrance. I don't believe that for a second, but fine, let's put that aside. I don't know why we have this subplot about two sisters, one of them's popular, one of them's not popular. There's no reason for her to be, for the bullied girl to be bullied. Like, I don't know how to identify with her. She's pretty. She doesn't look frumpy at all. She doesn't have a hair out of place. She just looks like she's shy. And I don't know. That's actually kind of cute to me. Maybe that's just me saying that because I'm not a good looking dude, but I'm just saying, if you're going to make a character get bullied, either have a good reason why, or at least a slightly more compelling reason other than just arbitrary, we got to give her a flaw that doesn't even look like it's an actual flaw. There's also something of a disconnect between what the relationship between the two sisters is supposed to be versus what the writing wants it to be. Because, like, okay, they're supposed to be interracial siblings. One's white, one's black. And they're supposed to be kind of uneasy about this, not because of the race, but just because they don't know what to make of each other. But like one speech from John Corbett later, and it's like you gotta look out for your sister. You gotta stick by each other. And at first, the black sister, who's the popular one, is like, well, all right, whatever, typical teenager stuff. But then all of a sudden, she'll just stick up for her sister. This kind of comes out of nowhere. Their relationship feels very disjointed. Just make them, if you're going to build up how much these sisters love each other over the course of the movie, then build it up. Either build it up or have it there instantly. But don't just go a full 180 on it. That's just really, really stupid and a sign of bad writing to me. I mean, even the simple setup of all the troubles that these girls go through feels extremely stupid. Because in the opening shots of the movie, or not the opening shots, but in the beginning, early on, you know that there is a great white in that underwater Mayan city. Because you have John Corbett coming up to the dinner table and like, here's a shark tooth that I found. It's like, there's a great white in there. And both Maya and Sasha know that, have that information under their belts. And they don't share that with either of their friends. So once all this starts happening, it's like, wait a minute, you never shared this information? There'd be no movie otherwise. So why even have that information to begin with? Why do we have a scene where John Corbett's coming in with a shark tooth saying, hey, there's a shark here? Once you have that information, there should be no reason to go into the underground city because you don't know what you're going to find. You don't know where that shark is. He doesn't know where that shark is. So what happened there? And pretty typical of any horror film that's not that great. You have your cliches. You have your character who's like trying to be the leader. You have another character who's reckless and causes more problems than not. And I think all of these characters are kind of hysterical. I mean, not that I don't get it. If you're trapped in a maze with a shark that navigates by sound, I would be freaking out too. But it's just like, if half the dialogue feels like it's screaming or just heaving, it's really distracting and kind of annoying. And I'm not invested as much. You want to see more characters make decisions and be a little more calm. Also, is it just me, or are those oxygen tanks not at all realistic? Because, when they start diving, those tanks are at 100%. But then once all the exciting shit kicks off, in the span of 5 minutes, those tanks are down to like half. But then over the course of the next hour or so, that oxygen level is just going down slower and slower by like 10%. It goes down to 25%, and then like 10%. It's like, again, in the span of 5 minutes, you went from 100% to 50%, but over the course of this hour where you're screaming and breathing heavily more than you were in the beginning of the story, it's all going down slower. I'm not following how these gas tanks work. I'm really not. Oh my God, this just came to my head too. There's even a moment where they realize, oh, we have this like high-pitched alarm thing that scares away the sharks. But once they find this out, they don't like immediately turn it on, and a character dies as a result of this oversight. So it's like, why wouldn't you have that thing on the moment you figured out, oh, we can use this to protect ourselves? And even just like not long later, they lose it. What is wrong with these people? God damn. How do you have a weapon that you can use against sharks and not be more responsible with it? Like, it's just, oh my God. Sometimes I forget how dumb this movie is. And it's just right up there with other bad horror films. It's also pretty obvious that this was directed by a man, because you have some gratuitous moments where you just have girls, hot girls, just in their bikinis, jumping in and out of the water, in slow-mo no less, close-ups of asses and just bodies and everything. It's just like, goddamn. I mean, I'm a heterosexual guy. I can appreciate an attractive woman as much as the next dude, but man, I can go on the internet and find better. It's a scene like that. I would understand why it happens, but it's just, man, it went on longer than it should have. And it was pretty unnecessary. I'm going to say that this is sort of a kind of a both of a negative and a positive, is the set design. Because on the one hand, I did originally enjoy that we were in an underwater Mayan city or whatever the hell that was. Because where everything kicks off at the sacrificial chamber, it is really cool. It's nice to see this kind of setting. Unfortunately, the movie does kind of bounce between kind of a Scooby-Doo, repeating of narrow corridors and stuff, which gets a little lame after a while, but it is broken up occasionally between something that is kind of visually interesting. Like you have another area, large area, where there's like a bunch of columns and stuff. So it looks like an atrium. So it's a larger area to swim around, and, shit happens there, of course. You have other scenes where there's like a current that pulls you down, like an oversized drain. And I give credit that the climax is freakishly awesome and really harrowing. Probably the highlight of the entire movie. Like, even if you thought this movie was lame, like Jurassic World lame, you can at least give credit that the ending climax is probably the best part. So that I will say. Actually, I really like Jurassic World, but that's a topic for another time. And it even gets kind of silly seeing the shark kind of like smash its face into a narrow opening too much. It just happens too many times for me to take seriously after a while. I want to say that the acting's good, and it kind of is. But then again, in a horror movie, if you're not acting scared, I would say there's something particularly wrong with your movie, with your horror movie. So is that really a positive that I'm convinced that they're acting scared? Or is it just kind of meeting that standard? I'll leave it up to other people to decide, but for me, I don't know. I guess if I have to pull a positive anywhere, it'd be that. I will actually give this movie a little bit of credit. The death scenes, when someone gets eaten by a shark, it's a lot more satisfying than something from the last film. Because in the last film, a person's killed off in a very PG-13 kind of way. Just like the shark comes in, bites, and then drags the person off screen with a little bit of red, circling, showing up. But in this one, nope, you get a character, you see them getting chomped, and then another character, and that same character will get another shark bite them and just tear them in half. It's not rated R, it's still PG-13, you don't see much, but the fact that they went that extra mile to be a little more gruesome with their deaths is a lot of fun. Another character dies in this movie. I don't know if this is a spoiler, but let's just say the movie goes full Deep Blue Sea. I almost want to say this is a negative, but because it's pulled off in such a great way, I can't say that I disapprove. It doesn't hold a candle to Deep Blue Sea, but it's still fun. There are some solid jump scares, and there's quite a few scenes of solid tension as well. Like, you actually don't know which one of these characters is going to die and when. So I give credit that when a scene wants to be exciting, it does a good job of doing that. Overall, I hesitate to say that this is a better film than the original, but because of how over the top it can be and how much stupid it kind of throws at you, I will admit that it's a little more entertaining. When all is said and done, you still have generic characters, you have a bunch of tropes. I will admit that you have better death scenes, and I might give credit that you have better visuals, but it doesn't make a complete package, and I probably wouldn't ever see this movie again, at least not personally. So as a recommendation, I'm going to say, yeah, save it for a rental if you're really that curious. There's not a reason to rush out to see this in theaters. I wouldn't even recommend it in theaters. My honest rating for 47 Meters Down, Uncaged, is a 3 out of 5. Alright, upcoming reviews include Buñuel in the Labyrinth of the Turtles, Blinded by the Light, and Where'd You Go, Bernadette? And on Tuesday, I'm going to go check out Ready or Not, so keep an eye out for those reviews when the time comes. And this information may be updated as I go, but next week's reviews include Overcomer, Angel Has Fallen, Brittany Runs a Marathon, and Vita and Virginia. Thanks so much for watching, you guys. I really appreciate it. Have a great day. Hope to see you soon.